Thank you for joining us on African Free Press Television for the news. My name is Leo Oketa. These are the stories making the rounds at this hour. It was historic in Kogi State yesterday when Alhaji Yahaya Bello of the All Progressive Congress (APC) was sworn in by the Chief Judge, Justice Nasir Ahana, as the new governor without a deputy. It is the first time in Nigeria's political history that an elected governor would be sworn in without a deputy. The party had drafted Mr. James Faleke to be the deputy. He refused, insisting on the joint ticket he had with Prince Abubakar Audu, who was leading in the November 21st, 2015 election. Audu died the following day after the poll when the results were still being collated. Faleke stuck to his gun by staying away from Bello's swearing in, even though he alleged of a plot to blackmail him. The new governor, who wept while recalling his childhood days as a poor young boy who lost his father at a very tender age, said it was quite unimaginable that, considering his background, he could ever become a governor, but noted that it was indeed God who brought him to the seat of power. Bello, who took his oath of office at noon at the Confluence Stadium, commended the national leadership of the APC and other stakeholders that made the swearing-in possible. In another twist in Nigeria's political tale, the Supreme Court yesterday upheld the election of Nyesom Wike as the governor of Rivers State. Given the ruling on Wednesday, Justice Kudirat Kekere-Ekun set aside the judgment of the appeal court, which nullified the election of Governor Wike. It was a unanimous judgment by the 7-man panel of the Apex Court, which also affirmed the election of Senator Ibikunle Amosu as the duly elected governor of Ogun State and Governor David Umahi of Ebonyi State. The candidate of the Labour Party in the governorship election of Ebonyi State, Mr. Edward Nkwago, had filed a case challenging the election of Mr. Umahi as the governor of Ebonyi State, but the court dismissed the case. The courtroom was filled to capacity as lawyers awaited the verdict of the court on the elections of Governor Wike of Rivers State, Senator Amosu of Ogun State, and Mr. Umahi of Ebonyi State. And former President Olusegun Obasanjo has accused members of the National Assembly of corruption, impunity, and greed. Speaking against the backdrop of the National Assembly's proposal to buy cars for members, Obasanjo, the former president, also alleged that the lawmakers were fond of repeatedly breaking the nation's laws. In a January 13 letter addressed to Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki and Speaker of the House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara, Obasanjo specifically said the lawmakers had been involved in fixing and earning salaries and allowances for above what the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission approved for them. He also alleged in the letter that a number of the 109 senators and 360 members of the House of Representatives were receiving constituency allowances without maintaining their local offices as required by the law. And still, former President Goodluck Jonathan this time has said he won't speak on the $2.1 billion arms deal probe saga and trial of some people in his government because whatever he says would affect the ongoing investigation by President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. He also declared that his administration never negotiated with Boko Haram as is being bandied by some people. Speaking in Geneva, Switzerland yesterday at a media interaction organized by the Geneva Press Club, Jonathan said, as a former president who labored to build institutions, it would be out of place for him to do anything that would undermine government and processes. He also said, speaking on the arms purchase probe of the President Buhari-led administration, would amount to subjudice as well as jeopardize the processes already instituted. He, however, said at the appropriate time he would address all the issues being raised about the 2.1 billion arms deal saga. The Nigeria's Governors Forum yesterday held a meeting at the presidential villa in the nation's capital, Abuja, with the state's chief executives pledging to continue their peer review mechanism. In a communique read by the chairman of the forum and governor of Zamfara State, Abdulaziz Yari, the governors welcomed their new colleague, the Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello, who joined the meeting after his swearing in. They also resolved to improve collaboration with the Ministry of Solid Minerals to ensure the exploration of other natural resources in their individual states, as a way of further shifting the nation's economy away from crude oil sales dependency. With the peer review mechanism, the governors appraised the performance of each state's government with a view to finding better ways of increasing their revenues and performances. The meeting started at about 9 p.m. local time with 13 governors and 3 deputy governors, including the chairman of the forum and governor of Zamfara State, Abdulaziz Yari, in attendance. The former Nigerian Minister of Petroleum Resources, Mrs. Dizianim Alessandra Madueke, has strongly stated she performed excellently with the right qualifications while in office, as opposed to people's view that she was controversial. She noted that people often hate others for knowing so much and for being efficient and confident, which they mistake for arrogance. She made this known last year while answering questions fielded by the CEO of Ovation magazine, Mr. Dele Momodu, in London. Mrs. Madueke went on to say that their government had to confront so many challenges, including oil theft and general insecurity. She, however, noted that some of those in office then delivered responsibly, while a few breached the faith and wasted the opportunities handed to them by the then President Goodluck Jonathan. And now on the foreign scene, some of the more than 30,000 refugees fleeing renewed fighting in Mozambique have accused government troops of killings, sexual assaults, and razing villages suspected of harboring opposition fighters. According to a journalist who visited the refugees in Malawi, the Mozambican government denies the charges. More than 20 years after the end of a decades-long civil war, sporadic fighting has again flared up between the government and fighters loyal to the opposition, forcing growing numbers of refugees to cross the border into neighboring Malawi. The ruling party, Frelimo, has been in power since Mozambique's independence from Portugal in 1975. But the opposition, Renamo, is urging the independent government in the north, where it has support. Mozambicans who have fled to Kapisa village in Malawi's southeastern Mwanza district say that they are escaping the undeclared war across the border in Mozambique's northern Tete province, said Afungai Cartano, a Mozambican journalist working in the area for the Malacca newspaper. A refugee is charged with Mozambican government forces killed, raped, burned houses and bans, says the journalist. The Mozambican government has denied that conflict is forcing thousands to flee, with officials saying the refugees are actually Malawians in search of food aid. That's quite interesting. Brazilian midfielder Ramirez Santos dos Nascimento has joined Chinese Super League club Jiangsu Suning in a permanent transfer. The 28-year-old exited Chelsea after 5 years and 6 months, in which he had helped the Blues in every major domestic and European league. On his arrival at the Stamford Bridge in the summer of 2010, Ramirez progressively enforced himself with his resilient running and hard tackling, where he scored Chelsea's goal of the season in March against Manchester City. Having signed a 4-year contract extension on October 29, 2015, Ramirez lost his place in the team and wanted to leave after Chelsea's boss Jose Mourinho was replaced with Gus Hiddink. He joined Jiangsu Suning FC on a 4-year contract with a transfer fee of £25 million, making the Brazilian the most expensive signing in the Chinese club's history. And these are the stories we're tracking for you this morning, coming from African Free Press Television. For more, please do log on to our website at www.africanfreepress.com. Follow us on Twitter at African Free Press, like our Facebook page at africanfreepress.com. Join us in our discussions on various interesting topics at African Free Press Forum, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at African Free Press. My name is Leo Oketa.